All right, everybody, welcome back to the deep dive.
Yeah, welcome back.
So are you ready to dig into some serious guitar tone?
Oh, yeah. Always ready for that.
Because we got a request from a listener who wants to know how to get Eddie Van Halen's Feel Your Love Tonight sound on a Valeton GP-200.
Okay, yeah, that's quite a challenge, but I think we can break it down.
Yeah, I think we can too.
Yeah.
And it's not just about twisting knobs and pushing buttons, right?
Yeah, no.
It's about understanding the essence of Eddie's tone.
Absolutely. Like, what made it so unique?
Yeah. And I think it all starts with the guitar itself.
The instrument.
Eddie was famous for playing these modified Strat-style guitars, but, he didn't just stick with the stock setup
Oh, no, not at all.
like a lot of guitarists do.
Yeah, you know those Strats? They usually come with like 3 single coil pickups.
Right.
But Eddie, he was all about that raw power.
Yeah.
So he ripped those out and he slapped in a single humbucker right there at the bridge position.
Yeah, and that's a big part of what gave him that really fat and focused sound.
Exactly. It's like all that energy concentrated into one pickup.
Yeah, and that sound was just like begging to be cranked through a powerful amp.
Oh, absolutely. A screaming amp.
And that's where your GP-200 comes into play.
Okay, so you've got your axe ready to rock.
Yes.
Now we need to dial in that amp sound on the GP-200.
And how do we do that?
Well, think of amp modeling as like choosing the right paint for a masterpiece.
Okay.
You want the right color, the right texture to bring your sonic vision to life.
All right, so what color are we looking for here?
For that classic Eddie sound, we want the British Plexi model. It's like the digital heart of his roaring Marshall Super LED 1959 Plexi amp.
That's a mouthful.
It is, but it's a legendary amp for a reason.
I bet. So are we talking like serious distortion here?
Oh, yeah. You better believe it. We're going to push that gain up into the medium-high range to get that signature crunch that Eddie was known for.
All right, so we're cranking the gate. What about the EQ? Like the mids, the treble?
That's where it gets really interesting. Shaping the EQ is like sculpting the tone. You're molding it to perfection.
Okay.
A good starting point is to boost those mids a bit.
Okay.
That'll help your guitar cut through the mix. You want it to sing, not get lost in the background.
Right. I mean, you think about Feel Your Love Tonight, right?
Yeah.
The guitar just pierces through everything.
Exactly. It's front and center.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got the amp dialed in. Now, what about the cabinet? Does that play a big role in the overall sound?
Absolutely. The cabinet is like the voice of the amp. It takes that raw power and shapes into something you can feel in your chest.
Wow.
So for that warm, woody tone that Eddie was known for, think of a 4x12 cabinet loaded with greenback style speakers.
I got those greenbacks?
Yeah, these speakers are legendary for their smooth breakup and vintage vibe.
Very cool.
Perfect for channeling that classic Van Halen sound.
Okay, so we've got the amp, we've got the cabinet. Are we ready to rock?
Almost, you know how Eddie wasn't a huge effects guy?
Right, he was more about the raw power of the guitar and the amp.
Exactly, but he did use effects strategically for a little extra bite. A touch of overdrive or boost in front of the amp can make all the difference.
Okay. But we want to be careful not to overdo it, right?
Absolutely. The key here is subtlety. You're just adding a touch of sizzle, not turning it into a fez fest.
Gotcha. So it's more about enhancing that core tone that we've built with the amp and the cabinet.
Precisely. Keep that drive low on your overdrive pedal and adjust the tone to add a bit of sparkle if you need it. The real magic happens when you use the overdrive to push the amp into that sweet spot of overdrive.
Very cool. Now, what about reverb? I always think of Eddie's sound as being big and spacious.
He did use reverb, but often very subtly. It was like adding a touch of atmosphere, not sticking the sound in it.
Okay.
Imagine a small to medium-sized room. That's the kind of reverb we're going for.
Right, so not like a giant cathedral or something.
Exact. Just a hint to give the tone some depth.
Okay, so we've got the amp, we've got the cabinet, a touch of overdrive, a hint of reverb. Are we missing anything?
Well, this is where your own playing comes in. It's like having all the right ingredients but needing that chef's touch.
I like that analogy.
Don't underestimate the power of your guitar's volume knob.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
Eddie was a master of dynamics, riding that knob to go from smooth cleans to screaming leads all in the turn of a wrist.
So it's not just about setting the dials on your GP-200 and forgetting about them. It's about interacting with your guitar in real time.
It's a conversation between you and your guitar experiment, with rolling back the volume for rhythm parts, then cranking it up for those epic solos. You'll be amazed at the range of tones you can get.
That's awesome. I feel like I'm starting to really understand what made Eddie's playing so unique.
That's the beauty of it. We can analyze the gear all day long, but what truly set Eddie apart was his musicality. He didn't just play notes, he expressed himself through his guitar.
Yeah, I think that's something that every guitar player can learn from, right?
Abs-
It's not just about the gear, it's about what you do with it.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, I think that about covers it for this deep dive.
Yeah, I think we nailed it.
So for everyone listening, grab your Valeton GP-200 dial in these settings. And remember, it's just a starting point.
Mm.
Use it as a foundation to explore, experiment, and most importantly, find your own voice.
I couldn't have said it better myself. We've given you the tools, the technical side, but the rest is up to you.
That's the beauty of music, right?
It is.
There's always more to discover.
Always.
All right, everybody, thanks for tuning in to the deep dive.
Yeah, thanks for listening and keep rocking.
We'll catch you next time.
See ya.
Bye-bye.